low-budget shocker that made a surprise box office killing. Without movie stars or special effects, it sliced its way to the top of Hollywood's record books.
Everybody was surprised by its success, and it didn't succeed right away.
Can you hear me?
And its making was the ultimate test for a group of struggling filmmakers who took a stab at creating a new chapter in screen horror.
Tommy! Tommy, hurry up!
How a driven director and his team of unknowns scored the ultimate trick-or-treat triumph. On Backstory, Halloween.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either ignore it, or you can help me to stop it.
Released in 1978, the horror tale Halloween became a box office smash and a cultural phenomenon.
I saw the boogeyman.
With its simple but terrifying story of small-town babysitters stalked by a maniacal killer. Despite a budget of just $320,000, Halloween would go on to become the most profitable independently released film ever. Its worldwide success shocked not only Hollywood, but also the filmmakers behind it, who went on to become many of the industry's hottest talents.
We were a little army. We were a little army making a film. We were just a bunch of kids trying to make a movie.
Honey, that's a haunted house. He said awful stuff happened there once. I know.
All the elements were right. An intriguing villain, a little bit of camp value with the Loomis character played by Donald Pleasance.
I'm his doctor. You must be ready for him. If you don't, it's your funeral.
You had some pretty teenagers in there.
We have 3 new cheers to learn in the morning. The game is in the afternoon. I have to get my hair done at 5, and the dance is at 8.
All the stars were in alignment.
Totally.
Everybody was very young. We were shooting in an incredibly fast pace. The entire makeup, wardrobe, prop department was in a tiny Winnebago. Here I was with these 18, 19, 20, 22-year-old guys, primarily, and a lot of people's girlfriends and friends and family all creating this movie.
Well, kiddo, I thought you outgrew superstition.
Although Halloween was created by a team of movie-making hopefuls, its eerie premise was the idea of a veteran Hollywood player, studio executive turned independent film distributor Irwin Yablans.
I want to do a horror film. And it occurred to me that if we did a movie about babysitters, it would work because everybody had either been a babysitter or been a baby. And also I thought it would be something that would lend itself to kids in jeopardy. One night would be the best way to do it. Halloween just popped into my mind. And I thought, I'll bet somebody's done it. The title's been used, but the word Halloween not only had not been used, but even the word had not been used as part of another title in the history of the movie business. Now that's an interesting thing.
Yablans' enthusiasm was shared by his pick for director. He turned to a 29-year-old USC graduate who'd recently helmed one of Yablans' most intriguing action films, Assault on Precinct 13. His name was John Carpenter.
Irwin said, let's make a horror film about babysitters who are stalked by this psychotic killer. He suggested we put it on Halloween night. And since I needed a job and I wanted to do that kind of thing, I said, sure, I'll do it. And as long as I can have complete creative control and I get my name above the title, then we'll do it.
He said, I can do this for $300,000. I said, for $300,000, if you can do that, you can have Final Cut, you can have it above the title. I mean, you can have anything you want. We were in business with a man named Mustafa Akkad. He invested some money in our company, but he was, quite frankly, uninterested.
I said $300,000. I mean, when it's expensive, you get worried. And when it is so cheap, you get worried. How can they make a movie for $300,000?
And then I said to John, but you know, John, $300,000 is a lot of money. And maybe it's just more than Mustafa can handle. It was calculated because I knew Mustafa was a very proud man. Oh, what do you mean? And with that, agreed to the $300,000 right there, and that was it.
Galvanized by the promise of total creative freedom, John Carpenter now eagerly set out to make a film that would be his industry calling card. To co-write and produce, he turned to a trusted past collaborator, Deborah Hill, his script supervisor on Assault on Precinct 13.
It took us about 3 weeks to write the script. We placed it in Haddonfield, Illinois, because I'm from Haddonfield, New Jersey. So I really had a sense of what a small town was like.
You're not supposed to go up there.
Yes, I am.
That's Schoolhouse.
Most small towns have a kind of haunted house story of one kind or another. At least that's what teenagers believe. There's always a house down the lane that somebody was killed in or somebody went crazy in.
Does anybody live here?
No, not since 1963 when it happened. Every kid in Haddonfield thinks this place is haunted.
They may be right.
I was a babysitter, and I knew what it was like to be, you know, all those characters. And so I really contributed the girl dialogue.
Hey, isn't that Devon Graham?
I don't think so.
I think he's cute.
Hey, jerk! Speed kills!
God, can you take a joke?
John really is, I would say, the developer of the whole evil concept. He gave Michael Myers that sense of foreboding.
Oh, look.
Look where?
Behind the bush.
I don't see anything.
The guy who drove by so fast, that one you yelled at.
Oh, subtle, isn't he?
Halloween is loaded with scares, suspense scares. Hopefully not grisly or gory, but suspenseful, making people on the edge of their seats. I enjoy doing that.
Halloween was really influenced by the films of Alfred Hitchcock.
They're coming! They're coming!
And the kinds of films that John and I loved when we grew up.
Psycho is the granddaddy of these kind of movies. That's the first modern horror film.
To play Halloween's good girl heroine Laurie Strode, Carpenter already had an actress in mind, a rising newcomer named Annie Lockhart.
I thought she was a great actress, and she turned us down. So Deborah came up with Jamie Lee.
Jamie Lee had vulnerable qualities, and she was just wonderful in her audition. She had just done Operation Petticoat, which was a television series. So she was very, very green. Yet she was the product of these unique parents, Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis. And besides being the best actress for the role, as a producer, I saw a great opportunity to promote the fact that she was the product of this Hollywood marriage.
When Jamie Lee Curtis came to mind, one thing popped in my mind: Janet Leigh in Psycho. So we hired Jamie Lee for that reason, who incidentally would have been best choice anyway. She turned to be a fine actress.
The old Girl Scout comes through again.
I was very much a smart aleck and was a cheerleader in high school, so felt very concerned that I was being considered for the really quiet, repressed young woman, when in fact I was very much more like the other two girls.
Totally.
Cast as Laurie's girlfriends were Nancy Loomis, the real-life wife of Halloween's production designer Tommy Lee Wallace.
I plan on making popcorn and watching Dr. Dementia. 6 straight hours of horror movies. Little Lindsay Wallace won't know what hit her.
And P.J. Souls, who'd played a similar bad girl role in the 1976 horror hit Carrie.
First I rip your clothes off,
Don't rip my blouse. It's expensive, idiot.
then you rip my clothes off, then we rip Lindsay's clothes off. Yeah, I think I got it.
Totally.
Like a million other actresses, I auditioned. And it was only afterwards that I found out that John Carpenter actually had written the part for me, and hoping that he would be able to use me in it because he had seen Carrie.
Oh, fantastic.
I was married to Dennis Quaid at the time, and I know that they had asked to see if he was available, but I think he was doing the movie of the week, which was kind of a bummer because it would have been fun to have him.
But among their cast of fresh faces, Carpenter and Hill were desperate to cast a recognized name in the small but pivotal role of Michael Myers' pursuer, Dr. Sam Loomis. With $20,000 in the budget, the filmmakers made an offer.
My first choice was Peter Cushing. I just loved him since I was a kid, so we called his agent and made an offer, and he would never deem to be in your little low-budget film.
Christopher Lee also declined to do the role. And it was funny, years later, we ran into Christopher Lee at a party, and he said, "That is the biggest mistake I ever made of my career, is to not be in this movie."
It was I who said, "Have you ever seen Donald Pleasance?" Wouldn't he give us a touch of class?
I was a huge fan of Donald. Have been, again, since I was a kid.
Pardon me, I'm Loomis, Dr. Sam Loomis.
Donald accepted the part. My most frightening moment as a director was the first time I had to go meet Donald. At the time, I was scared to death of him. So he said, I don't know why I'm doing this film. I don't know what my character is all about. The only reason I'm here is because my daughter, who's a rock and roll guitar player, thought that the music you did in Assault on Precinct 13 was good, so I don't know what I'm doing.
There are parts of the script which I'm now doing for John, which I can't accept, but I have to bring myself round to seeing it in his way because it's his film.
I realized that he was just testing me.
I think it's a little melodramatic, and certainly in my role.
Man wouldn't do that. This isn't a man.
But of course it's not intended to be real in that awful word realistic sense.
He always wanted to test the director to see, what did you have in mind for him? Did you have passion for the role? What was going on? But oh, my heart was pounding. It was awful. It was awful.
But greater frights lay just ahead. As the first day of filming now approached, and John Carpenter set out to risk everything on the most ambitious film of his career. When Backstory returns, a new face of horror is unmasked, and a nervous star fears for her life as an actress.
Shouldn't we go on up to the hospital and...
Wait.
In May of 1978, cameras rolled on day one of Halloween as John Carpenter and his eager young collaborators set out to conjure movie magic from a skeletal budget.
We shot a 20-day schedule, 4 weeks. Everybody did everything. It's harder to ask a stranger for a favor or to work for free or to work for very little money. So we really asked our friends to help us make this picture.
Everybody was doing 10 jobs. It wasn't surprising to see Jamie grabbing a case and helping us carry stuff. She was really part of the crew.
I always said you'd make a fabulous Girl Scout.
The actors didn't get paid very much, which is okay, though. They got scale, and that was important. I think it's the energy that everybody exuded, because we were all young, working actors, you know, just people beginning, and they all brought that enthusiasm in.
I'll be totally wiped out.
I don't think you have enough to do tomorrow.
Totally.
Even the movie's most veteran actor got into the Halloween spirit.
You must think me a very sinister doctor.
When Donald Pleasence came on set, it was just amazing. We only could afford to shoot him for a week. So we scheduled all of his scenes together. And, you know, it was a lot to accomplish.
But when they were doing the deed, the sexual deed...
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Donald was unbelievable. He was so kind to us, but he never looked down on what we were doing. He gave every scene its respect. He gave everything that we were doing absolute 100% of it.
Go in!
Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
He was just so enamored with everybody. And so he kind of joined in. He was like pulling cable, too. And that was really great.
I'd like to have a word with you if I could.
Well, maybe a few minutes. I've got to take
It is important.
10 minutes.
I'll be here.
It was wonderful to work with him because he was kind of spooky. Those eyes, you know, moving around. You just look at him and go, ooh, what's going on in there?
Halloween's success would also rely not just on enthusiasm, but the effectiveness of its monstrous villain.
How does Samuel's view of fate differ from that of Costain? Laurie?
Ma'am? I thought it might be a good idea to raise this Michael Myers character up to a mythic status. Make him human, yes, but almost like a force that will never stop, that can't be denied. We visited a mental institution. Then there was this kid, I must have been 12 or 13, and he literally had this look that I gave the lines to Donald Pleasence to say.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
It's a schizophrenic stare, is what it is. It's a real evil stare. And it was unsettling to me. And it was like the creepiest thing I'd ever seen, just because, as a stranger, he was completely insane.
Here's a guy who's a sociopath. He killed his sister when he was like 6 years old on Halloween night, dressed as a clown.
Michael's first act of evil would be shown in a sequence that required all of Carpenter's ingenuity and a stunning new camera only recently invented.
The Steadicam. It was a brand new device, and it allowed us to smoothly sort of move the camera wherever a guy could walk. And John said he wanted to use that as the opening shot. A sort of long, continuous shot that brought the audience into the backstory of what was going to be the movie. He wanted to start off establishing the old house, moving up to it as if it's with somebody's point of view, but then move around the back inside the house, take the knife out of the drawer.
Obviously, when you shoot with children, you're limited in terms of the time to shoot with the kids. It's a very, very complicated lighting setup, very complicated shot, and that was going to take up most of the time. So they needed somebody whose hands were small enough. So I became, the kid. I'm carrying the knife. Those are my hands in the clown suit. That's me climbing upstairs with the camera behind me. And that's me killing his sister. I actually wasn't even touching her.
It was also a challenge because the shot took almost exactly one roll of film each time. So every time we did the shot, we would just barely get it done and the film would run out.
Michael? It took us a night to do the whole sequence. There's actually 3 cuts in it, in the shot. That was an ambitious shot for a little low-budget crew.
Although set in the Midwest, Halloween was filmed entirely in Southern California, where the fast-moving filmmakers did their best to hide the local fauna.
Unfortunately, you can see a few palm trees. That's the only thing that screwed it up. What the hell?
Carpenter's team also had to create the look of a Midwestern fall in a sunny Southern California spring.
We got these big bags of leaves, orange leaves, fall leaves, and we would have this sort of stupid fan next to the camera. We would throw the leaves and so that they would blow in front of the camera.
I remember there maybe being 6 to 8 people on the crew. Dinner was time to throw the leaves on the grass. Everybody pitched in.
When we finished that scene, you know what we did? We went and raked the leaves, picked them up, and put them back in the bags for the next time.
But amid the group's exuberance, there was also anxiety on the part of first-time film star Jamie Lee Curtis.
The first day we shot, I remember going home and thinking I was going to be fired. I just thought I sucked. And I remember being at home and my roommate said, "Jamie, the phone's for you. It's John Carpenter." And I thought, oh man, this is it.
Hello? Hello? Who is this?
And he called to say how happy he was with the day's work, and I just thought that was great. It's never happened to me again.
I just was totally enamored by Jamie. I felt like Jamie was my little sister. She really needs a lot of love and a lot of confidence building. And I think that's what makes her so unique as a talent, is that the lack of confidence she makes up for sort of a bigger-than-life character.
You know, you could ask somebody. Oh, I could. Sure you could. All you have to do is go up to somebody and say, you want to go to the dance? You could do that. I couldn't.
When Backstory returns, John Carpenter puts his evil genius to the test to get away with murder. Inhabiting the sinister shape of Michael Myers was one of John Carpenter's friends and former USC schoolmates, future filmmaker Nick Castle.
John said, go here, put this on, and you'll be the guy running around with, be the killer. And that's fine. Do I get any money? Yes, $25 a day. And it was great.
He was just a real pal, and his father was a choreographer for Fred Astaire, and he just moved great. He moved with some subtlety, but yet he was evil and foreboding.
I basically asked the actor question, what is my motivation? And he said, your motivation is to walk from this point to the end point and roll.
Do nothing, just walk. Don't act, just walk.
I think he really gave the movie something. I think there's little moments that he does in the movie that are really special that take it away from being just some sort of thug in a suit.
Just the two of us.
The only crazy thing he did was when he stabs the kid. And he looks at him like this, like he's looking at a butterfly collection. That's the only direction I think I gave him.
He was just, you know, a gentle friend of John's there. He didn't want to hurt anybody.
Nick had a wife and I believe 2 babies, and they came by every day at lunch, and here's this guy with this oversuit on, and the mask was just always lying next to him. He'd put it on and go do the work.
John sent me out to find the perfect mask, or to create the perfect mask for the movie, and it was simply to be a kind of a blank face.
We didn't have any money to make a mask. So Tommy Lee Wallace, the production designer, ran up to the mask shop on Hollywood Boulevard and bought a couple. One was a clown mask, and that's, one way to go. And the other, he got this William Shatner Star Trek mask, Captain Kirk.
Because in mask form, the William Shatner mask was just a kind of a blank face. It didn't really look like anybody.
And he cut the eye holes out a little bit bigger so they weren't like this, they were round.
Tore off the eyebrows. I kind of poofed up the hair a little so it looked demented and strange. And I spray painted it whiter than it already was.
Annie!
Took off the sideburns.
That's the one. Ah, cheese. Oh, cheese.
Oh, it created a shiver right in the room, and we knew we had something special.
I guess I owe the success of Halloween to William Shatner.
Well, sort of.
Hello? Who's there? Oh, is this one of your cheap trips?
In crafting the story of Halloween, John Carpenter cleverly balanced high tension with carefully chosen moments of comic relief. Most of them were courtesy of co-star PJ Soles.
Hey, is Annie around?
No, I thought she'd be home by now. She went to pick up Paul.
Well, she's totally not here.
She probably stopped off someplace. Have her call me when she gets home, though. I have Lindsay here, and I want to know what time to put her to bed.
Okay. Later.
Have a good time.
We definitely will.
Bye.
You know, Jamie always told me she was jealous of my part because I got to do all the fun stuff. I had a lot of make-out scenes. That bedroom scene, that was a good scene.
Oh, fantastic.
John did say, it would be nice in this scene if we could have a little nudity, and I don't know, however you want to do it. He was trying to be very gentle with it.
Well, did you get my beer?
I think the line was, okay, big guy, come over here, but instead I slid the sheet down and say,
See anything you like?
the first time that I had gone to see the movie in Hollywood, there was a guy behind me, right behind me, and I was sitting there watching, and I say, see anything you like?
Well, can't you answer me?
And the guy goes, you bet your sweet beep I do.
Are you weird?
And I just sank down in my chair. I was so embarrassed.
Carpenter and Deborah Hill had filled their script with several set pieces of shocking horror. Now, with time running out, Carpenter had to capture that horror on film with little bloodshed and no special effects.
We wanted it to not be gory, we wanted it to be scary, and there's a big difference between gore and scare.
It's about knowing something's in there, and when your character, for some compelling reason, must go in there, it's about anticipation. Where's it going to happen?
John often likened it to the idea of a Jack-in-the-Box. When you're playing this tune, which is awfully friendly, but suddenly it goes,
We'd always end up laughing, and even my death scene where I'm getting strangled by the phone, I had to beg him to do it harder. I said, you know, don't kill me, but just do it a little harder because all you're doing is tickling my neck. And I can't die this way.
Annie, are you all right?
John was very, very acutely aware of as being how you build suspense. The great moment when Jamie Lee's running in the house. And John said, how can we accomplish the idea that our eyes are sort of getting used to the dark and we're starting to see the fact that Michael Myers is hiding there? And I said, oh, well, this will be fun. So we set it up with a small light on a dimmer. I gradually turned the light up so it began to just barely expose the film. And then you start to notice something.
It's just black, and then slowly he just turns it up so you barely begin to see a little exposure on the face, and then he comes out.
When Backstory returns, a surprising soundtrack puts the final goosebumps in Halloween. As the end of Halloween's filming approached, spirits on the set stayed surprisingly high. as cast and crew rallied each other to make it to the finish line.
John clearly knew what he wanted. There was no waffling of a sort of first-time movie director. There was just no time to question it.
If you watch the picture, it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. The shots of the shape, they get narrower and narrower and narrower until the end of the movie where Jamie's in the closet. It's a really tight, you know, close-up kind of movie.
At the end, of course, Jamie Lee is always dropping the stupid knife.
He wanted her to be a very vulnerable little girl so that you, as an audience, cared about her.
I want you to go down the stairs and out the front door. And I want you to go down the street to the Mackenzie's house. I want you to tell them to call the police and tell them to send them over here.
During the shoot, John Carpenter was also busy working on another ingredient, the music score, which the keyboard-playing director composed himself.
I had 3 days to do the score, and my father bought me a pair of bongos, believe it or not, when I was a teenager, which I never particularly learned how to play, but he taught me 5/4 time on them. At 5/4 time, it became the Halloween. That's all that is. Da 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 da. It worked. So I just did it on the piano, octaves, and put some synth strings and so forth on it.
And right off the bat, you are out of balance. It's almost as if your whole mind is being short-circuited and played with because you're getting this fast, crazy, erratic music.
And interestingly enough, I showed it to an executive from 20th, but I didn't have the music on it. And she said, "This is not frightening. There's nothing scary about this movie."
No matter what course of action
Did not have music.
took,
So it taught me a valuable lesson.
no matter what course of action Collins took, he was destined to his own fate.
It wasn't effective because it was all silent. People would scream when Michael is unmasked in the hallway there, Jamie unmasked him. Well, what you're seeing is nothing. It's just a guy under there. But you're so built up to it, people would scream at it.
John and Deborah wanted a certain look for the person that was going to eventually be Michael Myers when the mask came off. They didn't want someone really handsome like me. So they said they wanted someone that looked more angelic, kind of against type. But I'll let the audience decide if they actually made a good casting decision there. I think I would have been much better, frankly.
The movie's final minutes were also enhanced by the sensitive contribution of co-star Donald Pleasence.
Donald taught me a lot about acting. There's a scene in Halloween after Michael Myers has been shot off this balcony. Donald's character sees that the body is gone. He said, "I can play this two ways. I can play this, oh my God, or I can play this, I knew this would happen." I said, I didn't know what to say, so I said, "Can you do it both ways for me?" And he did, and we used, I knew this would happen. That was the one. That was the one that was chilling.
The final montage of the movie was actually made in the editing room. I don't think that it was certainly not in the script. And all these like shots of places where he had been or could have been.
Ending means he's not only gone, he's everywhere.
As Carpenter put his finishing touches on Halloween, distributor Irwin Yablans was fighting a different battle. With help from his longtime business partner, a former entertainment lawyer turned film distributor named Joe Wolf. Together, Wolf and Yablans struggled to get their low-budget film into theaters, either by releasing it themselves, or best of all, by convincing a major studio to provide distribution.
I had invited Warner Brothers, Columbia, Paramount, all the majors to come to the screening, none of whom came. So I sat down with Joe and I said, we're gonna distribute this picture ourselves. I need to get some prints.
Just so happens that I'd done a favor for MGM, and when I walked in and ordered 400 prints, they said yes.
And the distribution was just town by town to Irwin Yablans. He was really very good at that, selling it theater by theater, town by town, city by city.
With no movie stars and no studio backing, the future of Halloween seemed frightening indeed. But what happened next was more surprising and shocking than anything John Carpenter had imagined. When Backstory returns, a filmmaker finds out if Halloween proves a trick or treat at the box office.
Michael?
Halloween. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Halloween. The night he came home.
In October of 1978, after 20 days of filming and a total cost of just $320,000, Halloween opened in limited release. But to its maker's horror, the movie's early box office take was scarier than anything on screen.
It was released in October, November of '78, and it wasn't doing great. And then Deborah called and said, looks like we bombed.
It wasn't until the picture opened at the Chicago Film Festival that we realized we had a critical and commercial success in our hand. The picture was reviewed wonderfully, and the audiences were just lined up around the block.
People had told 2 other people, 4 other people, 5 other, they told 10 other people. It was almost like the game telephone.
Over a period of 8 weeks, this film just killed them. We couldn't believe it.
Everybody's coming up saying, ooh, what are you talking about? You know, well, it's a big hit. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. I had no idea.
Suddenly, the movie no studio had wanted was a box office blockbuster. Halloween surpassed everyone's expectations to become the most profitable independently released film to date, grossing over $70 million worldwide in its original release.
It was, you know, the new indie sensation that everyone had to see. What set Halloween apart from other, horror films of that time, I think was just the skill that John Carpenter brought to the material. Subjective shots from the killer's point of view. It really hadn't been done that much before. The victims were also sympathetic. You cared about the characters in Halloween.
With her very first movie role, Jamie Lee Curtis had established herself as a star to watch.
It gave me a movie career. I tried to point out the irony that in those exploitation movies, I was intelligent, forthright, fought back against adversity.
Halloween also launched the careers of its talented makers behind the camera.
Everybody has been successful. Dean Cundy became one of the top cinematographers in town. Deborah Hill became an ace producer. Nick Castle became a director.
I had a net participation profit deal, and I got the biggest check I had ever seen in my life from Halloween. It was stunning. I couldn't believe it.
The film's simple plot also became fodder for serious analysis by many of the nation's top movie critics. Some saw a conservative agenda in a story that hinged on the murder of sexually active women, but its director disagreed.
The teenagers that were victims are the more sexually active. But that misses just the essential point of the film. The movie's about the revenge of the repressed. And Jamie Lee has a connection with the killer because she's repressed too.
Poor Laurie. Scared another one away.
To me, these kids are just engaged in normal teenage behavior. They get killed because they're not paying attention. They're involved with their boyfriends and they don't think anything's going on. And there's no Christian right morality. No.
Soon after Halloween's success, John Carpenter's creation received the ultimate Hollywood compliment of imitation. Now, the same studios that had turned the movie down began making a series of blood-stained imitators.
It created a whole, industry of slasher films. From Friday the 13th, and any holiday wasn't safe anymore. You had New Year's Evil, Silent Night, Deadly Night, April Fool's Day.
As other movie monsters got into the act, Michael Myers himself returned to screens. 1981 saw the release of Halloween 2, produced by Deborah Hill and co-written by John Carpenter. The film was a box office hit, and it paved the way for a seemingly unstoppable series of sequels.
Ultimately, John and I didn't want to make any more sequels, and so Mustafa Akkad started making them. Mustafa, he's like Mr. Halloween.
I'm the godfather of the Halloweens. I will keep doing it, and I'll stop at 22. That's what Donald Pleasence said. I'll stop at 22, so I like to follow his advice.
The one that is closest to Halloween 1 is H2O. I think that the filmmakers, and certainly Jamie, tried to stylistically keep it as close to the original as possible.
Actually, I'm still involved in the Halloweens. To make another one sequel, I get the benefit of being paid some money, which is wonderful because I'm a capitalist and enjoy that.
What's amazing to me as a writer of it and producer of it is that 20-some years after we made the picture, there's still a huge fan base out there.
There's been Halloween masks and posters and dolls.
I have all the little action figures at home. I am actually an action figure. That's kind of exciting. There's Luke Skywalker, there's, then me, So that's a lot of fun.
At the reunion, young people came from Minneapolis and St. Louis. Yeah, Trekkies, we've got weenies.
That's by far the only movie experience I ever had where people continue to talk about it and come up. And I was in Rome recently making a TV movie, and in Rome, oh, Halloween, Except they do it with that really good Italian accent, which I just didn't nail.
Halloween would go on to make another fortune in its many incarnations on home video and DVD. As for its creator, John Carpenter would go on to other triumphs that established him as one of the top horror and suspense directors of his generation. But despite his other successes, many still consider Halloween his ultimate accomplishment, and it endures today as a chilling horror classic and a still inspiring example of filmmaking ambition and imagination.
And it's still a scary movie because they allow you to do all the thinking. You don't need all that blood and guts and gore because you know what's going to happen. Create that atmosphere and you got an audience.
It's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
If it scares you and you can sit on the couch and get a little closer to your girlfriend and put your arm around her and make her feel a little better, and comfort her while she's squealing in the chair there, then that's a good movie to see.
Have a good time.
We definitely will.
Like Hitchcock, Carpenter was really able to mine those feelings that nobody's safe no matter where you are. You leave the big city and you go out into the suburbs, but there's evil lurking out there too.
You can't kill the boogeyman.
He's everywhere. Evil still lives. He will always live. He's in the shadows. He may be in your house. He may be in mine.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.